Let's talk about networking. So what exactly is networking? Networking is more than just meeting new people. It's basically long-term relationships that are mutually beneficial to both sides of the party. I think a lot of people kind of confuse networking with gaining sort of an audience, or building like a personal brand. And those are all fun and great, but the important thing is finding long-term relationships with people in your industry that you can rely on. These could be people that you can ask for advice. It's really, really important to have those people in your field specifically because they've gone through those same struggles. And so there's a lot of solidarity in that. For me specifically, I struggle with a lot of imposter syndrome most of the time. And so in my network of people, friends that I have, if I talk about it to them, they're very open about and candid about times that they've also experienced this. So this video is mostly focused on how you get that entry-level job, or how do you get jobs leveraging your network? And how do you go to that stage in your life where you get so many emails in your inbox about interview opportunities that you're just like, oh my gosh. I want to talk through how I got to this point and how you can get to this point. I've only been in the industry full-time for about 3 years now. So there's not a lot of crazy insights that I have, but what I can tell you honestly is that every single opportunity that I've had have all been through networking. There's so many different channels and funnels, and when you're first starting out, it's so stressful. And I understand because I get these questions a lot. How did you get that first job? How do you talk to people? I'm applying to things, but people aren't reaching back to me. There's so much content in there. It's hard to consolidate in one video, and I'm gonna try my best. So we'll see how it goes. But I kind of wanted to talk about like I said, why am I the person that's giving you this advice? A lot of my jobs have all been through some form of networking. I've gotten them because I have known someone, or because I had some sort of public profile that people have found and were interested in me because of that. My internship, for example, at Uber, I got that first internship from a hackathon. And this was in person, prior to COVID. And I would go to hackathons all the time. And hackathons are really good for developers. They're basically an event which lasts anywhere from 24 to 48 hours in person, but now they're doing virtual ones that could be a month long. And basically what you do is you build something during this period, and then you demo it to judges at the end. And you can win prizes based on what you build and if the judges like it or not. And so these hackathons are super useful because not only do you show your actual developing skills, you get to meet other people and work on teams with people that you may not know. I went to the hackathon that my university hosted, which was Hack at Brown. The first project that I built back in 2015, 2016 was I used a Microsoft Connect. Microsoft was one of the sponsors, and I used it to connect to my computer. I had Mario Kart running, and then I used the Connect and to play Mario Kart. So basically, instead of using a controller, like a keyboard or a mouse or anything, you just had to hold your hands up and then rotate, and then it would play Mario Kart. It was just a stupid, fun side project that I wanted to work on. And what happened was, when I demoed it, the team that came from Uber was super impressed. They thought it was a really cool idea and a really cool project, and they wanted to refer me to the company as an intern. And so that's how I got my first interview. It was basically through me networking, talking to judges, talking to sponsors, putting myself out there, building something in public. And so that was a really key example of how networking helped me there. Nowadays, like I mentioned, hackathons are mostly virtual. You can use sites like DevPost to basically search through, find hackathons that may be relevant to your interests. So maybe things in web development, maybe things that are specific to a service like AWS. And you can use this website and just search through, find what companies you're interested in, see if they're running hackathons, and then submit projects for them. Worst case, you sunk a little bit of time working on a project. A lot of these hackathons also build communities around those specific hackathons. So for example, my friend from Twitch, and he's on YouTube too, Frying Pan, he had a Hack for Pan hackathon where it was basically his community, and he was running it and had prizes. He pulled judges, I think Benawad was a judge, and he basically, in his Discord, people were able to form teams, meet new people, and then present their project. And it's really cool. You get to put yourself out there, you get to build something, you get a project to talk about in the future. It's a really cool opportunity. So definitely check out hackathons. So yeah, that was how I got my first internship. When you're at an internship too, if you get that first job or that first role in tech, make friends. I was in San Francisco at Uber during that summer when I was an intern, and the amount of people that I met just in my intern group itself, a lot of those people are now at different companies, and I have so many references. I can ask If I want to work at Facebook, I have a friend who works at Facebook. If I want to work at insert company here, I can work at that company and just ask a friend of mine. And this was all because of the networking that I did when I was at Uber. SF is huge in tech. There were so many events that summer, especially for interns. I remember there was one called Internapalooza. That was basically a place for a bunch of tech companies to come, give a bunch of swag out, and then talk to all the interns that were in SF for that summer. And this is hard to talk about now because we're in COVID and inside times, but a lot of these events, they're gonna start up soon again. And so going to them and just talking to people is definitely the move. That's how you get your name out there. After Uber, I got this job at Double Fine, which is a game studio. And at the time, Double Fine was independent. It was pretty small. And I got that job through the craziest means. I DM'd the CEO on Facebook. Why was I Facebook friends with Tim Schafer, you might ask? Well, High School True senior year was scrolling through Facebook and she was in this group for indie game developers. Now, High School True was not an indie game developer. She loved playing video games, but she didn't really do much with that. She didn't make games. She really liked the idea of it. So she joined this group and was just, scrolling occasionally when she was bored. One of the posts that she found, I like how I'm talking about myself in the third person. One of the posts that I found was from the CEO of this camp, Girls Make Games. She posted, "Hey, we're looking for counselors to teach elementary to high school girls about how to code and make games." I was like, you know what? This kind of sounds awesome, and I don't have anything to do this summer. So I reached out to her. I DM'd her on Facebook, and I was like, hey. We did a little video call to see, just kind of a little interview. My parents had to sit there because they didn't want this. They didn't trust this woman who I met on Facebook, which is very fair. She could have been a serial killer, but she wasn't. It's okay. But yeah, so I met her, I DM'd her, and I flew out to California to be a counselor for this camp. For 2 weeks, I taught a group of girls how to make a game. We made a game and we demoed it. And one of the judges was Tim Schafer, who is the CEO of Double Fine. And through that, I talked to him. I was just like, oh my gosh, you're such an inspiration to me, etc. I was pitching the game alongside the other girls. And so he knew me. And because he knew me, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shoot my shot and I'm going to add him on Facebook. And I added him on Facebook with a little blurb like, hey, I'm True. I was from that camp. It's great to meet you. Hope we can stay in touch, whatever. And he added me on Facebook. And honestly, best day of my life. I was so proud of that moment. I remember being like, oh my God, Tim Schafer is my friend on Facebook to all my friends. Flash forward to 3 years later when I'm a junior in college and I don't have an internship for the summer. I DM'd Tim and I was like, hey, is there any opportunity for an intern for this summer? And he was totally open to the idea. He got me in contact with the lead HR person at the time, and I was able to interview and get a job for that summer, all because I met Tim Schafer 3 years ago. Networking is amazing. And I'm doing this because I was thinking I'll edit the rainbow, but your girl can't edit anything, so just imagine. After that, I'm trying to get full-time jobs, and I try to leverage my network, but I look at jobs a little bit too late. A lot of the bigger tech companies start looking for students specifically, like those entry-level roles, starting in the spring before people graduate, right? So if you're graduating May 2018, a lot of these roles are filled by, honestly, December 2017. So I had to focus on school since I had to graduate. I have another video talking about how I did really poorly in school and how I had to have 5 classes last semester to graduate. But so I was focused on school. So I didn't have a chance to interview at these companies. And so a lot of these slots for entry-level engineers were full. So I looked at startups versus bigger companies. Startups are different. There's more of a risk there. But a lot of tech startups now pay decently well. And so I looked at this website called AngelList. And AngelList is specifically for those kind of early stage startups. So yeah, it was very small, medium-sized companies. I put a profile up there basically saying hey, I'm from Brown. This is what I've done. I worked at Uber, all that. And so I got reached out to, and that's how I got my first job. My second job out of college, same thing, same networking thing. I went to this event that Y Combinator was running for hiring people. And so I was honestly just curious and I wanted to go check it out. And I met a bunch of people that started their own companies. These were the CEOs and CTOs of their companies. And so events like these are super valuable too, because you could meet the potential CEO of $1 billion company. So That's how I met the CTO at Glide. And Glide was a tiny company. It was like 5 people when I joined. So it was really small. And so just going to these events, I got to talk to so many different teams and different companies. It was really, really awesome. Like a big hack that I've learned when you go to these events, ask so many questions. I got to ask them specific questions about the product. I was way less experienced than I am right now. And so I was talking to them and I was trying not to sound dumb because I didn't want to they were talking a lot about the tech behind it because they're building a no-code product. And I didn't want to sound dumb. But so the quick fix to that is to just ask them a lot of questions. Like don't talk a lot unless they ask you, but just ask a lot of questions. Just be like, as they talk about their product, they're like this and I'm, oh, that's really interesting. Why'd you decide to go that route? Or and then they keep talking, and then you're like, oh, that's really cool. Are there like any ideas that you're thinking about in the next couple months to build? Just like things like that. People love talking about themselves. I mean, look at me. I'm talking for I could talk for ages about myself, man. So definitely ask a bunch of questions. That helps a lot. After that, I worked at Square. My Square job was kind of a very direct result of networking. It was through a referral of a friend that I had back when I was in Hackathons time. So back when I was interning at Uber, I just reached out to him and I was like, hey, I'm looking for jobs. Quick caveat here. I wouldn't ask any random person for a referral. Don't just DM me and be like, yo, can I get that Square referral? Because I'll be like, who are you? Who dis? So anyways, nowadays there's a lot of different places that you can find people that have similar interests to you. One of these is Slack and another one is Discord. One of the Slack communities I'm in is basically Figma developers. I was terrified to build my first Figma widget. It is one of the first things I've actually built and shipped in a long time. The reason that I was motivated to do this was that the Slack community was so helpful and so wonderful. I would look through the Slack archive just to see what other people have shared and posted on what they were building. And I remember distinctly someone in the group posted hey, if you're ever going to work on something, live, let us know. So I posted in the Slack group for the first message that I posted. I was like, hey, I'm working on this widget on my stream. And I had so many people come through from that Slack group being like, hey, I'm new here. It's super cool that you posted. What are you working on? Afterwards, I got to post the progress that I made. And then people were super supportive in the Slack group. And that's where I learned, and I think I learned this a little too late in the game, that engaging with people is really, really important, right? I remember one of my friends from that Figma group posted hey, I'm working on this really cool widget for embedding things. I was like, oh my God, I have a cool idea for embeds too. Can you share that code with me? And he was so excited to do so. I think not only do they feel great about being someone telling them, oh my God, this thing you're working on is super cool, they would love to help. People are generally, most of the time, people are very nice and kind. And so I think just being engaging to content that you find interesting is a huge, huge boost to your network. There's a bunch of Discord communities that do this too. One of my friends runs a massive one for people trying to find jobs. And it's for basically interview prep. Nowadays, there's a lot of communities that are forming in the entry-level space. A lot more people are getting interested in tech. And so one of the things is 100 devs on Twitter. It's huge and massive. They even have a big Discord community too. So definitely check that out if you're interested in finding a job, learning how to get into tech. It's a super good resource. Something that I wish I did more now was leveraging associations or big groups of people. So what I mean by this is things like Women Who Code. For example, at Square, we have groups for people parents at Square, so it's called Squarents, or we have the queer community at Square. For me, I'm in the South Asian community. And so I think it's super useful to leverage those type of associations because a lot of them also do meetups specifically within their group. Through that, you can meet people that are very, very similar to you in other ways besides just professionally. I kind of mentioned this, a lot of networking is through events. And where do you find events like this? It's all over the place. It's really hard to consolidate lists like this. There's big sites like Eventbrite or Meetup that do this. This could be tech or not tech too. It could be you're interested in crochet, here's the meetup for people interested in crochet. The other things you can look for when thinking of events, companies that you follow them on social media. They will have events where they do things like networking specifically. I know Figma, they do live streams where they teach you how to use Figma or bring in people from the company or outside external collaborators to talk about how they use Figma. They do conferences. They have like FigmaCon. It's not called FigmaCon. Some Figma conference. There's all these events, and it's mostly just using social media to find them. You can use sites like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, honestly anything. Just follow the companies and the tech that you're interested in, and you can find these events. Events are super useful. I would actually go to most of them alone, and it was kind of scary. But like I said, I leveraged just talking to people. I would just go up and be like, hi, I'm True. I'm a student, or I'm doing this at this company. You know, what's up? How you doing? And so I just strike a conversation. You just ask a lot of questions to the person, you figure out like what they do, and then you exchange like business cards, right? And so that was more in-person events. Nowadays, if you're really interested in someone like a speaker, you engage with their content, you ask them questions at the end of them speaking, just follow up with them on their social media. It's kind of like exchanging business cards, but virtually. And when you connect with them, and I've had people do this to me where they message me on LinkedIn or they add me and they send me a little blurb, a little personal blurb. And I think that's super, super good, is being like, hey, I saw you from this, or I know you from this, and I would really like to connect with you. It's super useful. It helps people like kind of put a face to your name. The other thing I wanted to touch on was leveraging social media. Like I talked a little bit about events, finding associations that you can be a member of, and also like communities in terms of like Slack and Discord. But I wanted to talk specifically about social media, and two of the biggest social media things that I think that are pretty important for tech would be LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm actually not a huge fan of LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is super important for a public profile. A lot of recruiters use LinkedIn as a way to find people and reach out to them for jobs. Having a LinkedIn profile is super huge, especially now. But I don't really use LinkedIn to network. It's more of, hey, okay, you can add me on LinkedIn and we can keep some sort of connection between us if you don't have any other social media. It's kind of like an online resume per se. But the thing that I think is key, especially if you're trying to be a developer in tech, is Twitter. Twitter is huge. Like last year, this was a big hashtag, like hashtag build in public. And a lot of it was just people working on side projects and showing the progress of their project along the way. A lot of the times what you see on social media is like very fancy, flashy, like end results, but seeing people learn something and the process behind it is super cool. And so if you're trying to build a network and you're just starting your Twitter, I think like doing content like that, like just posting things like consistently, what you're working on, what you're interested in, super cool. It's super awesome. I remember posting like one day I was just working with Figma and I was working on like using the variants and I didn't know about variants and I was like, oh, let me just post this because it's kind of cool. That post got like so many likes and a lot of people followed me and reached out to me because of it. There's like such high value in just posting about what you're working on. Like we're in this field where luckily a lot of the stuff you work on can just be reused as content. Like I was working on something with bundling, right? So I was like trying to move our process to Webpacker and I posted about it. And so people are interested because people also work on similar things. When I build in public, I tag companies that I build tools on top of. So when I worked on something with GitHub, I tagged GitHub in it and it went pretty viral. So a lot of it is also just finding those niches that you fit in, and then people that are also interested in that find you through that niche. On that note with Twitter, when you find content that you find super inspiring, share it, like comment on it, give feedback on it. You shouldn't expect people to engage with your content without engaging with content yourself. So it's definitely not a one-way street. Networking is a lot of just reciprocal relationships. You want to, share knowledge and gain knowledge. Trying to get better at this too, is just engaging with content that I find. Sometimes I get scared posting things in public. I get scared of like being taken, in a weird way. But when I see something that's super cool, I just say, yo, that's super cool. And it's nothing like crazy. So I think DMing is an interesting topic. I firmly believe like a lot of the things that you can say to someone in a DM, you can also just say it in public. So you can ask a question in public and it's kind of better for general visibility. But if you need to DM someone, like you definitely want to get acquainted with that person, or at least have some sort of opener that kind of indicates why you're DMing them and make sure that's like super well stated. I get a lot of DMs and a lot of them kind of just go, hey, or like, hi, can I ask a question? And those are not good. I feel really bad, but I don't want to engage with that because there's no value to me with just a hey or can I ask a question. Like, first off, if you're gonna ask a question, just ask your question. I feel like you've kind of already done it, so just go for it and ask the question. But Get to the point and be super specific in what you want, right? So what does this maybe look like? Hey, insert person here. I saw this project that you worked on and I think it's really cool. I'm trying to build something similar to this, and I would love to know that if you've open sourced this code somewhere, etc. You can just end with like, I would really appreciate your help, thank you. And worst case is they don't respond. I wanted to talk about something specific to me that I've found when I've been building my network, is I've been streaming on Twitch a lot, making content that way. And I started streaming on Twitch a long time ago to just like 2-3 viewers. And it's grown a lot now, hitting around 300 viewers. And just the amount that my network has grown because of that has been awesome. A lot of people reach out to me from my Twitch stream saying like, it's super cool to see someone who's not like, and this might sound bad, but someone who's not like super smart. So it's like someone who's also struggling with similar things and is also an engineer in the field and has been full time for a while. It's scary to put yourself out there streaming. It's not like fun like games to watch, right? You're watching someone kind of sit there and struggle how to code. But through that, I've kind of gained confidence in myself. I've found friends. I've helped refer people. Because of streaming, I actually got my job as a developer advocate. And it's super cool because my job now is literally to help other developers. I know it's very niche and it's a very small topic, but I've definitely tried. I'm trying to leverage these kind of concepts with everything that I'm doing. And yeah, Twitch has been super awesome so far. That's pretty much most of the tips I have for networking. This video is kind of really long and maybe a little bit rambly at times, but I kind of just wanted to put it out there in terms of like tips that I found and things kind of that I wish I knew, because I didn't really leverage a lot of these like building in public tactics or finding communities that I could be a part of and engaging with those communities. And a lot of this also seems very daunting, and I completely understand. It's a lot of work, but it's very useful and very helpful. And I think just like I said, hitting on those big things for your entry-level job, going to those events, talking to people at those events, asking them a lot of questions, going to things like hackathons, working on projects, finding teams, finding associations that you can be a part of that are in the tech space, so South Asian communities, Black communities, women communities, LGBTQ communities in tech. Go to Discord, go to Slack. There's so many like ways that you can find people that are similar to you and build that network. If you like this video and you want me to go a little bit more in depth on maybe specific things like how do I post on Twitter or how I started streaming and how that's helped, please let me know in the comments. I also posted my Discord link down below too. So if you're interested in joining our community, I do answer a lot of people's questions in Discord. Feel free to do that as well. If you want to follow me on social media, full circle here. I'm True Darla on Twitter, and I also stream at MewTrue on Twitch. So awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one, and yeah, good luck.